Yes, it's here.
We're going to start slowly. I think they're trying to fix the internet connections, is that right? Okay. So not that we want you to use them, because we would like you to listen to the presentations today. And resist the temptation to use your computers as much as you can, although it's a big temptation, I know. My name is Reinhard Schäler. I'm the director of the Localisation Research Center at the University of Limerick. I would like to welcome you all at our 13th annual Localisation conference here in Dublin, the Marina Institute of Education, which is a very different venue from the venues that you often see, which are kind of held in smart hotels. This is a smart Irish place with a lot of history. And if you have some time in between breaks, if you don't know this place, it's worthwhile just walking around. It's also changed a lot in the last few years. It's been renovated. You wouldn't think it sometimes, but it is. A lot of the stuff here is new. But we are lucky enough to be one of the older halls here today. We wrote about a page of an introduction to the conference and welcome. And in your own time, I would like to invite you to read this, because it points out a number of things and developments that have happened over the past years, and things that we believe are important, especially this year, for this year's conference, things that have changed that we are trying to pick up this year. I would like to bring you through a number of things that you just need to know, that are important to know when you stay here over the 2 days, things to do with the venue, with the social gathering tonight, and the program. So there are some house rules here. Don't smoke. Switch your mobile phone off if you try not to use your computer. Coffee breaks are just outside the hall here, where you had coffee this morning. The lunch breaks, for lunch breaks you should receive the voucher, like this. And it says on the back that it's an expensive voucher. They're cheap vouchers too, but we don't have the expensive ones. So you have a starter, a main course, a dessert, and tea and coffee. And that lunch is, you have to go out again, past reception, and go into the new building and up the stairs. And it's a self-service restaurant, so you just line up and you ask whatever you like. You ask for whatever you like, and take that with you on the tray to the table. We have a restriction here because this place is also called used for teaching. There's students here, and which means that we want to meet the students and finish early for lunch. So that we won't be delayed. So we have kind of a relatively hard break at 12 o'clock. Sorry, to 12:20. There are a few things that you should make our colleagues at the reception here outside the hall aware of. One is if you need a taxi, they have telephone numbers, and if you need help, they will also be able to help you to call the taxi if you have to leave at a certain time. Especially for tomorrow afternoon. Friday afternoon, Dublin is bad in terms of traffic. Dublin is impossible in terms of traffic on a Friday afternoon. That's another reason why we chose this venue, because it's close to the city centre and it's very close to the airport. So you have to leave. So to make plans, well, there's also some local transport information available at the outside here, our registration place, and some information on how to get to our venue for our social gathering tonight in a place that is called the Bank. And meeting in a bank these days, this this bank has a lot of history, they went out of business. Most recently it was, I don't know, maybe a decade ago, but it used to be a bank. Maybe that's what happened to lots of other banks. Probably, especially in Ireland, they're probably a little do better business if they sell Guinness and everything. So we decided to do this in a bank before we realized what was going to happen. So it's a very open, it's very, very nice London pub. And we decided to do the pub because we didn't want to sit down here. We decided to have the dinner tables during the conference where you can meet and sit and sit down and be comfortable. In the bank, it's going to be more informal. So have a good lunch. You will get something to eat in the evening, but it will be finger food and a few things. So it's going to be informal, and we'll be able to move around. And if you go into the bank, we have reserved an area upstairs. So if you go through the bar and go up the stairs, and there's a little balcony where we're going to meet, and that has a bar there to be there too. The speakers, I would like to ask them to gather maybe ahead of their session up here. And we will record the sessions. There might be speakers that do not like this, and in that case, obviously we will oblige. But all the speakers that are happy with the recordings, we will record their sessions and we will make them available on our website later on. This is how you get to the bank. So it's right in the center of town, the city center. From here you can get a bus, and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3 because that's the number of the bus. Easy to remember. And, a lot of the localization people in Ireland started localizing 1, 2, 3, so they remember better. It'll start around at 8, so you have some time between the end of today's proceedings and the reception of the social gathering to either have a walk through Dublin City, if you haven't been here before, or you have a shower or relax and so if you, it's easy to find where it is, but it's easy to pass by it too. So there's a little map here. This is Trinity College, it's a little landmark that everybody knows. Then this street is called Dane Street. So you walk down Dane Street and it's on your left-hand side, and you just have to look out for it. There's a few banks there. You go into the bank. That's also here. There's one small change from the program. Well, not a change really, but something that we didn't put into the program. We will announce the winners of the 2 awards that the LRC announce every year. The Best Thesis Award and the Best Scholar Award. And we will do that at the end of this session around 10:30. So this is the program. You have that in your proceedings. You should have a look at your proceedings. There is interesting stuff in there. Apart from the long-winded welcome note, and a little bit of background to the Localisation Research Centre and the activities in the Localisation Research Centre. You'll also find the program. What I thought is really interesting, and what we didn't put in there, is the history of this conference. And I won't go into this very much now, but it started off 13 years ago, which is a lucky number. And we started off, because Ireland has been the centre of the localization activities in the world. We started off as such, and obviously the scene has changed. And we tried to change the conference as the scene changed. And in 2004, for the first time, we went for something for a theme that was really unusual at the time. And we called that open source localization. I think it was the first time ever that the event was dedicated to investigate and look at open source localization issues. In 2005, we went a step further and had a theme called the Global Initiative for Local Computing. And we invited people from all over the world northern localization community. In 2006, we had the theme was the localization factory, and that's interesting too because a lot of the activities around this newly founded enhanced research center, the Center for Next Generation Localization, which is a huge government-funded and industry-funded research initiative in Ireland, organizes its activities around the idea of automating localization. So last year we focused on research. We call this the Localization Research Conference gathering. And this year, as you know, we decided to focus on localization for all. And the idea of localization for all is really that we believe that localization has to open up. Localization activities are centered around finances, many other things in life are. And if you think about it, everything goes down to the bottom line, many different aspects of life and work. And obviously the same thing is true for localization. But there are localization activities and there are localization needs and requirements and obligations that have to be fulfilled in other areas, in other spaces that are not directly in the focus of commercially focused activities. And we want to report on some of those, we want to highlight some of those over the next 2 days. The first day is on, we call this a localization update. So we've invited speakers that have been in the localization industry for a long time, have followed the development of the localization industry, and have important things to say on different aspects of it. So session 1 is going to be on the localization decision, and that's probably the most important thing in the localization process. And localizers who are not part of the business decision know relatively little about it. I've been working in localization a long time, and it took me almost 10-15 years to realize, why things are being localized. They're being localized to be sold, obvious. It's also obvious to be sold, and they're localized so people can buy the stuff that is being localized. But to think that through and to think about the implications of that is something that makes sense. So we have 2 speakers. We have one speaker that is going to focus on the enterprise localization decision, and we have another speaker that's going to look at the consumer localization decision. Then later on, in the morning after the coffee break, session 2, we're going to look at localization from standards to open source. We're going to look at, after that, streamlining the process. And in session 4, we thought it was a really smart title. We call this No Uncertain Terms. This is what Okay, so finally, just to make you stay here over the next 2 days, to give you a little incentive. We have a raffle tomorrow afternoon. And in previous years we had boring things that everybody has, like iPods and gadgets and stuff. So they're really old-fashioned now, because they're, everybody has them, they're around everywhere. So we decided to give you something that is kind of real heavyweight, and something that you can keep for the rest of your life. Depending who you are, you might find part of the history of your life in it. And it's the first 10 years of localization focus. This is really valuable because there's only 10 copies of this in the world. Okay. So we were trying to put a price on this, and of course, it's very subjective. So you can buy it if you really want to. Since at least one of our speakers is the guy that has all the money, or personally, we thought of upping the price today and just persuading the buy one system. But it's up for sale for €500. If anybody thinks that it's worthwhile buying it, you can look at it outside with a copy to look at it, and we have one here that is going to be it's worth €500, you probably will have to pay €30 for luggage. So it's really interesting because there's, I looked through this over the last few days, and there's pictures in there that you probably will recognize from people who you probably recognize who that have changed a lot over the last 10 years. And you can see what localization does to people. You will also see how localization focus has changed, and we've tried to move from a newsletter to magazine publication, and we are now at the stage where we publish it as a journal, and you can have a look at the new look of localization focus in the International Journal of Localization Outside. It's now a peer-reviewed journal that is indexed by several scientific indexes, and it has an editorial board that has members from all over the world. As we're looking at it, if you look at not short-term, very instant information, but on something that is a little bit more maybe heavyweight or maybe longer and stuff that would not usually be published. Okay. So, without further ado, we go to our first session. I would like to introduce our first speaker. There's a bio and a brief outline for each of the speakers and their contributions in the proceedings. And you can, if you don't know, you can look that up. What I'm going to try and do is highlight a few things that are important, about those speakers. And some of those things might not be in the descriptions. So James is one of those people that has been in the localization industry forever. Since it started. So he's vast experience, a vast amount of experience in different roles over the years. He has been the semantic for 16 years, which is a very long time too. So he has moved there and developed his role to a point where, well, it says very humbly here, locally, that he has the responsibility for worldwide budget. So whoever you are, whatever you do in localization, the guy that has the budget is the guy to talk to. And the decisions that the people that have the budget make, shape what we do, no matter what we do, whether we do translations, whether we do testing, whether we do project management, technical writing, or whatever. And there's, we want to look at the localization decision, but I think it's also important, maybe when we talk about money and why localization is being done and what the implications of budgets are, to see what does it mean when we take that localization decision, and what implications does it have for languages and markets and people living there in those markets. So it's a real interesting thing, and I don't think that we ever had presentations like this before in our 13 years. So I'm really looking forward to two presentations. The first one by James Creedis, Senior Director of Operations at Semantic, and the second one by Daniel Ocean, and I will introduce him just before his presentation. So I would like you to welcome James Creedis.
James Creedis is my name, and thank you, Reinhard. I missed most of that introduction because I was trying to get the machine working. I was thinking you were probably going to give away bank shares instead of the book, but I'm going to talk to you this morning. It's not going to take that long, and it's not got as many slides as maybe Reinhard or Tom was going to have. And really the theme of the talk I'm going to give is that the decision making is not as complicated as Reinhard also indicated. So let's go through it. As I sat down, I sat down to do this presentation over more than an hour here and an hour there than one long spell concluded up until late last night. So one thing I did wonder about was how do we make decisions, and I did a quick look at for some quotes, and some of them kind of caught my eye. There are hundreds of quotes, as you can imagine, out there about decision making. You know, these three resonated with me. They meant something, and I just thought, in some ways, they kind of summarize as well the business decisions that we come across. Half the world definitely